Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Endless Celts Podcast, our transfer deadline special, half 10 kickoff for ourselves. Quite late on, but we're here to cover the last hour and a half or so of the window. And coming to yourself, William, buddy, how are you, mate?
I was alright until I seen that at the bottom there, and Gigi's already away. He's not gone yet.
He's on my
Get that
departure
up.
list because he's going. He's done.
I'm
He's
alright, mate.
finito.
I'm alright, man.
Good man, good man. And Anthony, what about yourself, man? How are you?
I'm very good, mate. As I say, same as Willie, 2 nights in a row. What more can you ask for? But no Jim White, no Cavi Solikol, no yellow ties. This is where the proper deadline day chat happens.
100%. I don't know about the proper deadline day chat, Ross, but we'll try our best. But you're wearing the only yellow kind of thing on the podcast at the minute. You're representing the Sky
yellow
Sports
ticker
stuff.
tape going across the bottom there.
How you doing, mate? How you doing?
I'm not bad, not bad. I enjoyed your the show we used 3 last night. I listened to it at work today. Really good show. Good chat about all the players and that. And looking forward to getting into this.
Yeah, 100%. I think we'll just start with, obviously, the bread and butter, Anthony, and that's the Celtic transfers. And we'll kind of talk about them individually at the moment. We'll start with the incomings. Probably, I think it was our third signing in the window. We had Iwata come in, the J League Player of the Year from Postecoglou's old team. Obviously, another kind of a coup. Obviously, £1.5 million. You kind of dip into this pond so many times, you're still shocked that you're getting these guys at cheap prices. But in terms of him and potentially with Cal McGregor, there's a good link up, and obviously as well with Cal McGregor, a chance to rest him at times.
Absolutely, and there's obviously just adds to the strength and depth of the squad as well, Stephen. I know we're obviously going to touch on it kind of later on in the show, but I think this is one of the key bits of evidence as to why I would say that they were stronger leaving the window than we were going into it. Yes, there's going to be a few outgoings which we'll chat about as well, but I think it's this type of signing. This just adds to a place where we're already quite packed, but it's just that extra option, and it's just going to be. I think he's going to be a real player, and once he finds his feet, we might have the luxury this season. I think of last season we were at this point we were just coming up for the derby against Rangers, so we were still second in the title race last year, and Ange was just sort of getting that first wave of the players that he really wanted in. So Atati had to be almost rushed, right the right word, but he certainly had to go straight into the team. And as we were saying last night, that first 9 or 10 games, he was sensational. But then he really had quite a phase of where he did look really fatigued. Where we have that now is the luxury of, obviously, those guys are already established. We can maybe introduce Iwata a little bit more, in a more staged manner, and hopefully with that means we'll get the real benefits of him throughout the summer, then into the European campaign. But in terms of his brief cameo that we've seen so far against Morton, he looks another find. And and like you say, at 1.5 million, another great bit of business by the club.
100%. My brother comes in here with Dark Knight. Subscribe to the Endless Celts Podcast. If you want to, hit that subscribe button and the thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. But coming to you, Ross, there used to be a wee thing I used to leave you to last, but I'm not doing it this time, so I'm coming to you before that. And in terms of Iwata coming in, as Anthony said, and even Postecoglou, we discussed it yesterday in a brief period. He's talked about maybe next season implementing more formation changes and flexibility within a system. And if you're going into European football and if he's looking to play 2 natural number 6s, you've got that in Iwata and McGregor. So for me, it's a great bit of business. And as Anthony rightly said, he has the time now to settle in. Where last year, Hatate came in and it was rush. He was playing off adrenaline. He had to settle in really quickly. But guys like Iwata can take their time now.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got, obviously, compared to this time last year, like Anthony's alluded to, we've got so much more options. And he just adds another one. And you said there a minute ago, it gives us the opportunity to sort of rest McGregor. I get that. I get what you're saying there, but he is, after all, our captain. And I think, as much as he does need a rest, for me, he'll probably play pretty much all the games, I would say. And I think if Iwata comes in, he'll most likely push McGregor one up and maybe rest somebody else. But again, games like Greenock Morton, had Iwata been in the door a wee bit longer, he maybe would have rested McGregor. It gives you that option, as much as it gives you the option, like Ange spoke about, and you've just mentioned yourself there, it gives us the option now to change the formation. I don't think we'll do it that often, but again, in Europe, you have to play the fixture. You have to be more, as much as Ange doesn't want to change his style, you have to be more, what's the word, sort of more flexible in the way you're playing formations. You have to keep teams that are going to be most likely better than you on paper. You have to keep them guessing. You don't want to be samey all the time. You have to be able to, like you've said there, play the two number sixes. Certainly away from home, I think being that, certainly in Europe, being that bit more solid, if you like, and having that protection for your back four, I'd be definitely open to having Iwata and McGregor in the same team. We're talking about at the now like they're the exact same player. We've not seen enough of Iwata. They might not be. They might be able to play. They might not be able to play in the same team, or they might well be able to. Time will tell on that. But again, it's another option in the middle of the park. I mean, we've got options all over the park, but we're particularly blessed in that area with real quality.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, in terms of style of play, Willie, I think we've been led to believe that Iwata is very explosive, probably the engine of attack day, and near enough, apparently, the speed of Maeda. So if you have that midfield, it's great recovery pace. And before come to yourself, if anyone's interested, Huddersfield Town has signed a goalkeeper, Fazlik from Olympiacos. So get your teeth into that. There's the first bit of breaking news on the Endless Celts podcast.
This just in.
We'll come into yourself, Willie, about Iwata. Are you happy enough that there's an option there even to rest McGregor? 400 appearances yesterday, well, in the game before, and incredible.
Yeah. Obviously, it's great to get somebody in the door and early. I mean, he was player of the year last year, wasn't he? In the J League, so he's obviously not a terrible player. It's a strange one for me. I think the guys are saying it there, and I don't think if he is playing number 6, I don't see him getting a lot of game time. To be honest with you, we touched on it last night about Calmac playing that number 6 and how there's nobody in the team that can turn defence into attack like he does, and he's a heartbeat and he drives the team forward. And I also said last night there's very few positions in the park that are the guys are untouchable or they're not easily replaced. But for me, Calmac and Hatate are two that are irreplaceable. So you'll find it tough to get in the team. But I think we've always been saying we need a number 6. Well, I say we need a number 6, but O'Reilly fitted in there. Not bad when Calmac had his injury. So as much as it's fairly exciting that we've got the J League's player of the season, I must admit it's one of them because you're not going to dethrone Calmac. So I'm not underwhelmed, might not be the right word for it, but out of all the signings we've made, it's not one that's making me do backflips, to be honest with you, just because of the position he plays and who he's up against.
Yeah, I look at them.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I know while he's saying there, it's no so much strengthening the first 11, if you like, but it's certainly strengthening the squad. But I totally get what he's saying.
It's like if you played one striker in your team and you've got Haaland, but you buy Lewandowski, you're like, he's brilliant, but I've got Haaland.
It's a bit like Arsenal. It's a bit like Arsenal signing Jorginho today.
You went too early with it.
I'm just meaning he's not going to strengthen the first 11 because he's not going to take the place of Partey. But he's a signing that's been brought in there to help bolster the squad.
Yeah.
And at 12 million quid, it's quite a step getting Jorginho, isn't it? Like, to be fair, with his experience and stuff with Chelsea. But we'll come on to the south end of the aisle shortly in terms of transfers happening down there. Isn't it south to Scotland? It is south, isn't it? Or
oh my
north?
God,
I don't know. So, right. I mean, I do agree. If like, see, in terms of the signings, shut up, Anthony. See, in terms of the signings, only one for me is probably a Neil Dunn starter, and that's Alistair Johnston, Willie. He's come in, JJ's gone, his direct replacement. What's been your thoughts on Alistair Johnston so far in a Celtic jersey?
I think he's been excellent. Like I said last night, he reminds me, and I'm not saying he's as good as KT, but he reminds me a lot of KT in the fact that he's an old school, hard hitting fullback. He'll no shuck a challenge, which I love. and I know the fans love that as well. Ever since he's came in, when there's been a camera put in front of him as well, he's always spoke so eloquently, and he's fantastic when he talks about the club. It seems like he's bought into it straight away, which most have under Ange. It's difficult. I know I'm sure we'll talk about later on if we think the squad's stronger or not, and so I'll keep my piece on that. But with regards to Juranovic going out, it's difficult to compare the two because for me they're totally different players. I think Juranovic was more technical and better going forward, but shortcomings maybe sometimes coming back the way, whereas I think Johnston's the opposite. I think he maybe needs to work on a bit more the technical side of the game and getting forward, and he's the opposite. Where we're going back the way, like I said, he's just hard tackling, no frills. I think he's been an excellent signing for what we've seen so far. Super impressed.
Nice jammy bottoms, Tony. Sorry about
that. That's all right. I thought it was going to be the Spider-Man ones or something like that.
Oh, no, Star Wars the next one.
Oh, is it?
Mark 2D2 as well.
So to sum up, super impressed. Ange always talks about making sure we've got somebody in for whoever's gone out, and he's a more than capable replacement. So I'm very happy with Johnston coming in.
Yeah, he's a proper solid player. Do not get this whole Tiger Woods reference. I can't see it myself, but other people can. It is funny though, to be fair. Granda's come in, have Celtic sold McCarthy. Unless McCarthy comes with the physio table, Granda, I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But coming to yourself, Ross, I mean, Juranovic, we can touch upon departures as well here. Juranovic left. He's went to Union Berlin. By all accounts, he's 2 starts, 2 assists over there already. So he's kind of caught flames early on in the Bundesliga. But I think, like Willie said, like Alistair Johnston for me is that probably what we need in terms of, he's not really flashy, but he's strong in the defence. Juranovic is quite weak in that position. He covers the ground really well. He gets up and down that line. He links up the play, and he can whip in a good ball. What's your opinion of him so far?
I think he's hard as nails. Really likes to defend and defends really well. I think I've said it myself, and I agree with Willie. I think in terms of going forward, he's no as good as Juranovic was. But I think the same could have been said about Greg Taylor. He wasn't. So I mean, he's still not absolutely outstanding going forward. He's technically probably still not as good as a Juranovic. But Greg Taylor, there was question marks over him going forward. I think he's came on leaps and bounds, even better than what I thought he was before Ange came in. And I think, given time and coached in the right way, I think once he gets used to that position, Alistair Johnston could improve, certainly going forward. But I think in terms of the Champions League, I think having a guy like Alistair Johnston will benefit us in that tournament over a Juranovic, because I think you've seen in the Champions League this year, Greg Taylor never looked caught out really defensively, whereas Juranovic did, because he sort of marauds forward a bit more, and then there's spaces left. Don't get me wrong, I mean, Greg Taylor was protected very well by Daisen Maeda at times, certainly in the game against Leipzig at home, the first half. But I'm really impressed with Alistair Johnston, and I sort of agree with that. Russell saying about it, he doesn't really obviously not look like Tiger Woods, but across the mouth a wee bit, and the way he talks in interviews and that, I can see it. But I'm really impressed with him, and to be perfectly honest with you, as much as I like Juranovic, I think I'm more comfortable with, and it's early days, it is, but I think I'm more comfortable with Johnston in the team, because as much as the way Ange likes our fullbacks to play, obviously the inverted fullback, I still want them to defend first and foremost. I want them to be better at that than going forward, because I think we've got more than enough other attacking players who can create stuff. And I want these guys to do their primary job, and that's to defend. And I think both Taylor and Johnston do that to a really good level.
100%, mate. The Paddy Lavery comes in. Stephen, that's a couple of nights now you've been drinking water, thought you're Irish. But again, mate, it's weekdays. Come on. We crack open the beer fridge on a Friday night here on the podcast. You should know that by now. Another bit of news coming out of the transfer sphere at the moment is Hakim Ziyech is going to join PSG on loan from Chelsea for the remainder of the season with no obligation to buy. Imagine making them loan moves in the SPFL like I don't know, like a Charles Dunn from Motherwell going on loan to PSG. Mental, like incredible. But I think Ross,
nothing like Ziyech going there is right enough.
well, you know what I mean. But I'm trying to do a comparison. It's just mental, like the way they can loan players like that. But in terms of Alistair Johnston, Anthony, I think William and Ross both touched on it brilliantly. What I'm looking at as well, the fact he can fill in centre back, and Postecoglou said there may be formation changes, so that again bodes well going into next season.
It does. He looks pretty versatile, obviously. For the clips we've seen on him, obviously we've only really seen him in a right back scenario at Celtic so far. But yeah, agree with the boys. I think he's pretty much featured since he's been eligible to play, and I think he's doing really well. It just seems it's like been a seamless transition, so to speak. And as much as I was a big fan of JJ, I think pretty much from this time last year, there was always sort of rumours and sort of things doing the round, whether it be in the print media or on social media, that he was going to be going away. And Fabrizio Romano, I mean, eventually he was going to get it right. He tweeted it every window that he was definitely leaving in this window. So if you say the same thing often enough, more or less you might get it right, and you can claim to be in the know. But I think that there's.
That's a dig at me, isn't it?
That sounds like something I know.
That sounds like a dig at me, like
100%.
Absolutely not. It was more a dig at the man himself, because I don't know, maybe it's just his actual profile pic on Twitter. It just bugs me, that daft holding the mobile phone. He just, every inch just looks like the absolute fanny boys of the modern football and sphere, as it is.
You better hope he doesn't watch this, or you're getting done in.
What do you call a hitman on me?
Flip me.
Tuck on him. But no, it's all good. As I say, I think the time had come for Juranovic to go. I think his time had come, and I think Johnston's come in, and he's just the next one on the conveyor belt, and here's hoping he just as, if not more, success than JJ did in terms of trophies.
100%. I think he'll be there for, again, a longer term than JJ. I think Johnston's one of these players that comes in, likes to lay down a bit of roots. I know that sounds again cliche, but he looks that type. And I didn't know until recently his mum's actually from where I'm from, so that's interesting. Plays for Canada, and his mum's from Ireland, or the north of Ireland, whatever people want to call it. But another bit of breaking news coming in the transfer.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's just mental. Guys, a bit of decorum, a bit of professional. No, we don't.
I couldn't even take that, man.
You did. You took it well. But another bit of breaking news: Chelsea have agreed a record fee of £105 million, a record fee, by the way, in the January transfer window for Enzo Fernandez, who was only bought by Benfica, I think, 18 months ago for 17 million quid. We better talk about this at the moment. What do you think about that deal, Willie? You shook your head there.
It's madness.
Crazy.
Fucked. The boy who had a decent World Cup. I don't think he set the world alight. I thought he would look decent. And Chelsea, like I said, Chelsea are just ruining football. How much have they spent this window? Absolute nonsense, man.
It's a lot.
And by the way, seeing this day's money, I understand. Like, you got to pay. Like, everybody was flapping their gums about the Mudryk deal. If I was going to spend money on anybody, it would have been him. I think he looks an absolute world class player.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Is it a type of player they need? I don't know what they need. I don't know. They're just a fucking. I don't know what they are.
It seems like
they're new. To be honest with you,
it seems like their new owner, Ted Bowley, isn't it, Anthony? He's come in. He's kind of took the reins there. I know most of you follow English football to a certain extent or look at it, but from outside, obviously. Well, what's your opinion on that? 105 million. I think that's an absolute shambles. The guy had, as Willie said, a decent World Cup. I mean, Juranovic had a decent World Cup and he got chucked away for £9 million, and there's big Enzo going for 105. He is a talented player, but again, that's the inflation taking hold there. Like,
oh, it does. It's anyone, I think we're all quite kind of listening to the TalkSport show with Jim White and Simon Jordan, and Simon Jordan calls it, the super inflation that came ironically from this beginning of the Abramovich era. We were told that when Todd Bowley came in, of course, it's a different kind of takeover. It's, it's the term leverage buyout, as they call it, that he was going to be a different type of owner, and, they were going to try and build a little bit more from the ground up rather than... But it just seems like a guy who's playing football manager for real. But the problem is, he's the owner, not the manager. And it just seems like a bit of a basket case club at the moment. And, there's certain decisions that you think they're going down the right way in terms of, they made a deal to get Graham Potter in, and they've spent a lot of money getting all his staff in. But, in terms of the results, it's not quite working out. But in terms of their approach on the pitch, it just seems to be how much money can we spend on any given player at any given moment. And there'll be a lot of Chelsea fans that will argue, well, look at, that's a similar approach to what Abramovich had. And for all we didn't like, us as maybe purists don't like that approach. There's no denying that they've been very successful over the last 20 years. But Chelsea are very much symbolic of the many reasons why I would never ever want us to go down there. It's just it's a circus for me, and it's think that it's not something I would ever want to see Celtic join in. I would hate to be sitting watching this just now, with Celtic going toe to toe with Newcastle for the latest £50 million wonder kid. It's almost not even real football for me. And we're lucky as Celtic fans that we still have that. There's still that connection between the club and the support. I get that we're a multi-million-pound entity as well, but there's still that kind of community feel about the club. And everything that we've earned or we've built, whether it be the stadium, whether it be the success that we've had over the years, it's all came through the pockets of the support mostly. And it's nonsense for me, Stephen. But unfortunately, as with so many other things in this world, it's sadly we're a dying breed, the ones with common sense.
It's the case for me. I mean, like as Alistair Johnston said, from Ted Bowley came in, around £600 million has been spent, and I look at the likes of their manager Graham Potter. Ross, he's still the manager, isn't he? I think he is. There was talk he was getting sacked or whatever, but he's still the manager. I followed him kind of closely when he was managing in Sweden. Then he went to Brighton. Went to Swansea. He went to Brighton, done a fantastic job there. And sometimes these managers can go to these clubs, and it can be like, I'm not in control of anything, because they're obviously bringing in these players. They're signing committees, and as Anthony said, like, it's the idea of investment I love at Celtic Football Club. It's the idea that we could get £20 million and go, here you go, we'll take that player. But there's many pitfalls that can come in that. But if it's done right, the investment's done right with £1 billion owner, surely that only bodes well for the club. Chelsea's the prime example of not how to do it at the moment.
Well, the thing, I think that, I mean, I'm not privy to what's going on at Chelsea, but I think that Potter is having a say on who's coming in. But to me, it just looks like you say, they're throwing money at it. I don't think there seems to be a lot of structure towards what they're doing in terms of sort of building the squad, like for example, like Anchas, and there's like rhyme and reason to it. Whereas Chelsea seem to be just signing guys that are big name players, or well, not so much big name players. The players they are signing recently have been young guys. But I mean, in terms of this one, the night, it is copious amounts of money, 105 million, but they're trying to do it over. They're paying it up in instalments, and the £105 million was the release. That's what they had to pay for what is it? The buyout clause. Sorry. So they had to meet that to obviously for that to happen. But I was listening to Simon Jordan today, and it's no for me to try and explain how he explained it, because he's far more in the know than what I'm are. But he sort of urge him to go and listen to the show for the day and listen to that part of him talking about how is it Todd Bowley? Todd Bowley.
Todd, aye.
How, like say, they're talking about UEFA are talking about, because Chelsea have signed Mudryk on an 8-year deal, which is totally bizarre. But he's 22-year-old, I think. And I think the way Simon Jordan sort of explained it was they're bringing these guys in on these long-term deals, and I mean it's risk and reward, because if he comes in and he doesn't hit the ground running, and he's tied to Chelsea for 8 years, they could be sitting in the house. If he's not getting a game, he'll be quite happy taking his big wage and playing the PlayStation rather than going to another club.
Him and McCarthy online.
But if he plays really well, then he plays really well for 3 years, and then like a Real Madrid or a Barcelona come in and they want them. More often than not, Chelsea are obviously quite a big club, but they want to go to one of the two clubs. But in 3 years' time, if he's played amazing, which obviously makes Madrid, etc., want them, then they've still got 5 years left on their deal. So that sort of increases their price even more, because Chelsea, it's such a long term. So I think that's how Chelsea are doing it at the minute. That's the way he sort of, if I'm understanding them right, that's the way he sort of explained it. So there is like a plan in that sense where, okay, I'm throwing money at this, but if they do really well and they want to move on, then we hold all the cards, if you like, because we've still got them on that long-term deal. Obviously, UEFA try to bring this thing in now where you can't make it any more than 5 years, but that's not in at the minute. So Chelsea are sort of trying to exploit that, if you like, at the minute, while they still can. Personally, I don't think UEFA should be doing that. I think you should be able to sign a player for his whatever term of contract you want. If the players want to sign that, then do you know what I mean? UEFA shouldn't be privy to the deal. It's between the two parties or the three parties. So I don't see that going through with UEFA. And as much as I don't like Chelsea, if it comes off for them, it could be really good for them long term. But again, time will tell on that.
Yeah, I mean,
I agree
the
with
Chelsea
that,
subject isn't.
And
Go ahead.
see with that mindset. This is what I've been talking about when we've been talking about the transfers that are coming up. And that's bang on. And this is why I think with Celtic recently as well, with the prospects we've got and the talent we've got. If that's the case, then why are we? If rumours are to be, if the fees meant to be right, why is GG going for 4.3 million when he's got 3.5-4 year left in his contract?
That's what I was going to say. That's a
weird.
bugbear of mine. Because you look at it, the transfer fees for players. I mean, for example, another one just come through. Tottenham have just signed Pedro Porro from Sporting Lisbon on loan with an obligation to buy for 40 million quid in the summer, Willie. So there's money being spent, and I look at it, like Juranovic, GG, whoever it may be, and I hear the league as an argument, but we should be getting more for what we do get for our star players. It's a bugbear of mine. I don't know what you think about it. I know you're going to go into it there. Like,
I know 100%. JJ's got a bronze medal at the World Cup, for God's sake. I know Fernandes won it and he's a top player. He's gone for 105 million.
Yeah.
Why is, and I understand, see if JJ, obviously it looks like JJ went because money reasons and that. It sounded like that for Ange anyway when he said about you've not got long in a career and you need to grasp opportunities, and I agree with him. So for me, that means I'm getting a bumper deal at wherever I'm going on twice the wage I'm at Celtic, then I'm away. That's fair enough. And if there is GG talking about he didn't want to be here anymore, he wanted more game time, or he wanted a new challenge, or whatever it is, that's fine. That's totally fine, mate. If you didn't want to be at the club, then fair enough. But you're still here. You've got a contract for 4 years. You signed that contract, so you can go, but you'll go for what I say you're valued at, no for half the price because you're unsettled or unhappy. No. That's not how it works. Player power is far too much in the game nowadays. Mm-hmm. You signed a 5-year deal, mate. So you can work hard and play like you should be, or you can go, but you're not going for any less than this amount of money, because it doesn't matter what league you're in. And you can't get players like that for that money. No, obviously we got him cheaper, so you can. But like if he goes, like this is like that's a massive, massive loss for us. You can't get players like that. You put the ball in the back of the net like he does. One touch finishes, changes a game like that for that money. Nah.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
England.
with the fact that if he does go, that's why I'm absolutely devastated.
Well,
the
back
fee,
to
the one argument
especially,
you could
but
say
it's
against that though, Willie, is when he signed when he signed this deal, this 5-year deal or whatever it was, one of the big things is obviously with the fact that he wasn't on the highest wage at Celtic, so maybe even if you take weigh up the value of his the 4 years that was left in his contract, it might only come up to about 4.8 million. So the board might just say, we're getting essentially our contract's worth, and we're getting a unsettled player out the door. But the overall point you make is absolutely spot on. And the only thing I would say about the Juranovic deal and the Giakoumakis deal, and it was a rumour it was down the mill, and as I say, I don't know whether it's true or not, but in terms of joining the dots, I might be making, you might get it completely wrong, but there was a lot of guys sort of saying that when Don Mackay was in the boardroom when he was the chief executive, he was in charge of 3. He was fully left in control of 3 contracts. One of them was James McCarthy, who he offered a 4-year deal to, and the other 2 was Juranovic and Giakoumakis. And the sort of hypothesis is, in his naivety, dealing with sort of football agents and footballing contracts, he sort of got these guys in the door and perhaps didn't do as much due diligence to the small print as he should have. And obviously, as we say, we've got quite poor returns on our investment so far. And apparently, when Desmond found out about this, to say he wasn't happy is an understatement. But you don't know if that's just internet hearsay. But to be fair to Celtic, over the years, we have got, considering the money that we've spent to acquire a player, we have always got quite a decent return on them. When you look at the likes of, we got, was it 12, 13 million for Van Dijk, although that looks like small pennies now. That was in a year where we weren't getting Champions League money, so we had to get him out the door. You look at the money we got for Dembele, you look at the money we got for Tierney. So, as I say, you might be right, Bhoys, say it's one of these things, it's just internet rumours, and it's the only one that perhaps comes up with a bit of, you just don't know whether it's true or not. But regardless, you're right in terms of how a guy can get be in the, one of the best players at the World Cup, goes for 7 million. Giakoumakis scoring goals for fun goes for 4.8, and then you've got these guys that are, going for more money than the GDP of some small nations. It's crazy. It's really, really crazy.
Here's a point. See, say Giakoumakis is at Southampton, right? And he's done what he did for us in the last season. Bangs goals for fun. Do you think, and Spurs want him, do you think they're paying 4.3 for him?
Yeah.
No.
But see the way I totally get what he's what's it? Oh, I totally get what he's saying, right? But I sort of look at it as well. I mean, for me, if Giakoumakis was playing for us every week, what is he, 28-year-old?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Something like that, mate, yeah.
Mid to late
He's
20s,
playing
right?
every week. I think it's very weird, the clubs that have come in for him, first and foremost. But look, I think you're looking in the region of £8 million, right? But we're talking about a guy here, as much as we love him and as much as we think he's brilliant, he's not playing. He's not playing games. He's not starting. And if a guy's not starting, you can't demand the same fee. You look at, if maybe 8 million we could get for him, but he's not playing. I think very near 5 million. It's not great. I don't know why, and it's the same with Juranovic, but I don't know. I don't think it's a horrendous deal. I don't think we're going to get double figures. I don't think we're ever going to get double figures from him, because although he was top goal scorer for us, and he was the top goal scorer in the Dutch league, the team he was with got relegated. We got him for a couple of million. I don't know. If he was playing every week, I would understand the big gripe more. We want to get as much money as we possibly can. There's something went on behind the scenes. What that is, I don't know. But I mean, if we paid a couple of million for him, we've pretty much doubled that. Then it's no bad business. But I totally take Willie's point, Anthony's point as well. But I also look at it in the sense that, no, that I'm saying he was causing unrest, but if we didn't, well, Ange, if somebody's making noises getting out of the club, right away, Ange, you can go, bye. But if we done sort of what you were saying, Willie, and, well, you've got this amount of time left in your contract, so you'll go for whatever we think you're valued at. But then, if Celtic called out for, I don't know, 9 or 10 million, say, right, if that's what they thought he was valued at, and clubs were just like, well, we're not paying that for him because we don't think he's valued at that. So then you're left with a player that's maybe unhappy and will get more unhappy because he's not getting picked, and you'll probably not pick him because he's pissed off with him because he wanted out, causes a bit of unrest, causes that slight disharmony, and it just snowballs until the summer or whenever he goes. I just think sometimes you've just got to cut your losses. And I'm not, again, I'll reiterate, I'm not saying he was causing unrest in the dressing room, because for the outside looking in, it's not affected the team. We're still winning games. But Ange just want that harmony. All the guys he's brought in are all, he says it himself, I have a conversation with him, and if I can walk away from that and think he's not the right fit or he is the right fit, he signs the man, and I think he keeps a hold of the man as well, or lets the man go. So, I don't know. I take your point, but you've just got to look at it for the other side as well, eh?
I think as well, like, we always talk about transfer fees and stuff like that. The Scottish clubs are always on their mind when it comes to the ballpark and the bigger figures. We all know this. And this is what Graham Bell's alluding to. More God if we made a loss and JJ and GG, the replacement's already in great management. While I agree with that, what I will also say, to kind of come back to you, Ross, as well, you mentioned about the fees, and I look at this, and Ali McBurney and Oliver Burke have accumulated over £80 million of transfer fees between them, and they're dog shit. And it's only because the leagues they played in that these overinflated transfer fees were paid. So I do get what you're all saying. But what I love about it is, it's what Ange Postecoglou has said from the start. It's being aggressive, accumulating these transfer fees and reinvesting it back in the squad. Hopefully then making bigger returns and getting bigger fees in for the players. I don't think Jota, I know Boise did say it, Jota going for 9 million plus in the summer, I think he'll be at least in the 20s. He has to be. So these players that have a high value, like Rio Watate, Matt O'Reilly, do you not think so, Willie? Do you think Jota will go up there now?
I think he should, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did go for that. Say, what's to say next season Jota decides, just like JJ, there's noises that there's big clubs in for him, and he decides, you know what, I want a bit of this, causes unrest, same thing happens, and then we sell him for 8-9 million. What's to say that's not going to happen?
I don't think that'll happen. I think Celtic will get in the region of 20 million for him when he goes.
I believe. Yeah. I believe they should. I'm just saying. I don't think. I don't know. He could go. He could go for 8-9 million. I just like the same. Like JJ's just won third place in a World Cup, and we've been told that everybody was raving about him because of his performance against Brazil, and he goes for peanuts.
But then a couple of years ago, we've sold like Ayer for 13 million. I just think something's been on in the background. Certainly, these two deals, at the very least, I think Jota was signed in a permanent. I'm not blaming Dom Mackay, but this is the rumour. So I'm surmising off of that rumour. These two guys were brought in when Dom Mackay was there. I might be wrong.
Well, whoever left Dom Mackay inside the contract is.
But the Jota deal was made in this. But the Jota deal was made in the summer there. So if there was some poor business done, that won't be the same with Jota. And I think we'll be able to get what he's worth. But see, in terms of like us letting Juranovic go, and Giakoumakis go, I'm quite comfortable with it.
Yeah,
Because I sort of look at, what's that?
I'm agreeing. I'm the same. Mate. If we hadn't signed, if the replacements weren't in the door before they left, I would have been more worried. But
the reason as well, I look at Man City, right? Guardiola, he's had absolutely. I know Man City have got a far better calibre player than what we've got, but you look at it in his time, guys like Sané, just like for whatever reason it wasn't working out, just didn't play him, just out the door. Aguero, he was coming to end his career, but even the day, Cancelo, like whatever, he's had a bit of unrest, just put him out on loan.
But they're going to get 61 million for him.
Aye, I know.
That's the difference. That's the difference.
Aye, but I'm thinking in terms of like turning over the squad really quickly.
I know, I totally agree with that, mate. But if Bayern came in with a loan and I'm going to give you 15 million at the end of it, City wouldn't be taking that.
No, I know, but that's I'm not making that point. I'm sort of talking on the turnover of the squad now.
Aye.
And like say Jesus went away in the summer window, Zinchenko, and maybe it doesn't work all the time because Man City might not end up winning the league, but the guys like him, Guardiola, like Ferguson, like you've said it yourself, Willie, they know when to just keep. But
Aye.
I think you're seeing that I think we'll see players leaving more often, and he'll have contingency plans to get replacements in. And I think, again, I'll go back to it, I think the replacements that have came in are more than able. But and I do take your points on the obviously the transfer fees we've got for these last two players. For whatever reason, it's no great. Certainly, Juranovic, I thought, well, we got 10 million for him. I think it's no bad. If we got, I would say 14 for him would have been the ceiling. So 10 million, personally, I think that wasn't bad. And I totally take your point that he's got a bronze medal in the World Cup. And obviously, you look at this Benfica player who obviously won it, but he had a buyout clause already in, whereas I don't think Juranovic did. I don't think Celtic envisaged that he would get a bronze medal, but at the same time, he played a couple of decent games in the World Cup, but again, he wasn't absolutely phenomenal. And he played in the Champions League, and he was at times poor defensively. We got 10 million for him. I actually think we've done no bad getting 10 million for Juranovic. But in terms of Giakoumakis, I totally take the point on that. We could have and should have got more money for him.
Yeah. I seen Juranovic in his interview when he joined Union Berlin said he had other options, haven't he, in world football. So, but he wanted to choose Union Berlin because he was going to be a first choice pick. And again, points to his character, which I don't believe there might have been unrest. I know that's speculation, but this could be the contracts that were dished up by the previous regime that was ended really quickly. But they kind of rounded back the transfers again. Just want to come to the English ones closed. John Joe Shelby completed a deal to Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest again have signed Keylor Navas on loan from PSG, multiple Champions League winner. And Matt Doherty has packed his bags and is away to Atletico Madrid. What a move for that guy. But coming back to you, Anthony. Coming back to you, Anthony, let's talk about O, who we believe is their direct replacement for Jeezy. Now, I want to bring up what Willie said in front of you. There is rumours going around tonight that this deal for Giakoumakis is not completed. He's still weighing up his options, but it very, very much looks like he's out the door, like he's looking away and finding a club that suits him. What from what you've seen of O, do you think he's going to be a valid replacement?
Yeah, 100%. And although it's maybe a bit silly to just surmise that from 11 minutes of action, I think he really made an impact in that 11 minutes, and perhaps he should have an assist on his card already, because I think Maeda, I accept it's maybe a hard ball to take. It was maybe just slightly behind him, but at the time I thought you got to do better there, Dyson. And I thought in that, we were talking about it last night, I thought for such a quite a tall guy. He had a sort of almost Viduka-like technique on the ball, looked very comfortable, put himself about a bit. He was fouled as well, tried to stay on his feet, and then ended up getting a foul given against him for reasons only known to our, esteemed officials. But I think he looks a more than ready replacement, and he has that kind of physical presence as well, which Giakoumakis definitely brought to the table as well. So, I think Ross is right in terms of the overturning of players. I think that is going to happen more often. I think Ange even sort of, in no so certain what many words, kind of alluded to that at the AGM back just before Christmas. He sort of says this is the way it's going to go now. We spent quite a bit of the time last season getting the £2 million and the £3 million players in, which you can get sold on, hopefully at some kind of profit, which allows you to get. And I don't know if he's including Carter Vickers and Jota and this kind of thing, but perhaps the £6 and £7 million type players. And if you can develop them, then you can start to be in the market for players above that. So it all sounds easy. Of course it's not quite as simple as that, as we've learned over the years. But I think provided Ange is still there, I think this sort of process, as it were, can only go one way. We just seem to be a relentless machine at the minute, and I don't just mean that on the park. And but as I say, I'm really excited by what I've seen of O so far. And the other thing as well is he looks delighted to be here. Ange looks delighted to have him as well. He certainly Ange certainly seemed to show him a warmth on his arrival that he perhaps hasn't showed the likes of Giakoumakis and others. He normally doesn't give much away on when players are unveiled, but he definitely looked dead excited to get this guy in the building. So hopefully sooner rather than later we'll start to see him, getting the goals in and the assists in, and proving his worth to what will hopefully be 2 in a row.
Yeah, I mean, that hug he gave him coming in, Ross, like Anthony said, was the smiles. It reminded me a bit of that when he was hugging Kyogo last season, when Kyogo jumped on him and kind of got that big hug off him. But Plunge McNugget brings up a great point here. So as soon as players say they want to leave, Ange doesn't stand in their way. I think Postecoglou's brung this over from his time in Japan and Australia. They don't really stand in the way of players leaving. They see it as a path, and the players go on that path, and they can chase whatever they want. And I mean, we've had managers in the past like Lenny, Strachan, Martin O'Neill, who I think would have been much more hard-lined in their transfer kind of movements. If we don't get this for them, they're not going. And much like William said, the offers, the fees are a bit of a disgrace. That's not beat around the bush, but we've trebled our money. Alistair Jack said it as well. So all in all, getting the O in for 2.5 million, undercutting what we've sold GG for as well when it goes through. Good bit of business.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, in terms of monetary terms, it looks to be a good bit of business. Time will tell if it's going to be a good bit of business on the park. I mean, we all know what GG brought to the team. He brought goals. He was powerful. It was that difference for Hyeongyu. He gave us that focal point, certainly against Rangers. I've seen it in numerous times against them. But again, it looks like we've sort of signed the Korean Giakoumakis. I mean, again, like Anthony said, it was 11 minutes or so we've seen him. But he put himself about the park. But I think it was one of you guys said on last night's show, he wasn't running about like a headless chicken. I think it was maybe you, Willie. And I totally agree with that. It was measured. It wasn't just like, I'll just put the heart, I'll just run about the park and look like I'm busy. It was measured. He looks more mobile than Giakoumakis. He certainly, for what is he, 21-year-old? He's like his body looks to be fully developed. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. And obviously he can play off the left as well. But I mean, I think he showed with that delivery into the box for Maeda that he's got that in his locker. That's something that probably you'd have to say that Giakoumakis didn't have. But I think this season Giakoumakis has shown that he can also have a shot for outside the box. He done it in Europe I think it was against Shakhtar, and he done it in one of his last few games there where he hit the bar or the post, I think it was. Can't mind who it was against. But time will tell. But he certainly looks more suited to the Ange style than what a Giakoumakis would be on paper. In terms of, because again, like I say, he looks more mobile. I think probably the main reason why Kyogo was getting in the team over Giakoumakis was because we defend for the front and Kyogo defends for the front. He pressures the opposition defenders better than Giakoumakis does, and I think that's why he was getting the nod over Giakoumakis, because we try to defend for the front. Our defenders obviously are good defenders, but they're not under as much pressure for the most part in league games because Kyogo defends for the front. And if this guy is more mobile and he's strong, maybe through time he could oust Kyogo because he could defend for the front like Kyogo, but then he gives you that focal point. But time will tell on that. But right now, in the 11 minutes I've seen him, he looks to be handy enough, but time will tell and we'll see how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's to be fair, every time I look at Willie Ross when we mention Gigi, it looks like he wants to crack his lid. It looks like he's fuming every time I mention it. But before I come to you, Willie, bit of Scottish news coming through. Aberdeen captain Anthony Stewart has left and joined, I think it's MK Dons, for the remainder of the season. Another player left him, Bezelen, the Dutch guy, has left for Rotterdam. That's why it's 2 players out the door for Aberdeen. Obviously, Barry Robson is putting the axe in pretty quickly. Obviously, the shambles they've been over the last couple of weeks, we all know it, we've all seen it. But coming to yourself, Willie, Monty has asked a question here. While we're on easy, I think it's just right to come to you here, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not up to Ange to keep players happy and to manage situations with players, maybe convince them to stay with the likes of GG or JJ, Willie?
Yes, no. Up to a certain point, I think. I agree with the guys. If I've always said that if somebody's not wanting to be at the club, then that's fine. It's like I've got no problem with that. I don't care how good you've been or how well you've played. But the point for me with Gigi in particular is just the fee. I just think it's ridiculous. And just to touch on, I know a lot of the comments were saying that we've tripled our money or whatnot. That's you putting the 2 deals together. I agree with Ross. I think the JJ deal's that's decent money. Quite happy with the deal, and for him to go, you take that GG one in isolation, you're not tripling your money there. What are we paying for him? 2.5 or something. So you're not tripling your money there, and what he's done in the year or the 18 months he's been here, for me, the fee should just be far surpassing that. So this whole you're trebling your money, no, that you've made your money on JJ, you're not making it on GG. And just to touch on, it's difficult to say, like you guys have said, it's only been 10 minutes, you've seen he looks a real player or a real prospect for what I've seen, but I'm hoping I'm wrong, but if he can finish like GG, then brilliant, but I just can't see him being a finisher like GG was.
GG, the one touch, wasn't it? The one touch finish. He was absolutely fantastic.
The hardest thing to do in football, and the boy made it look easy. I just think it's madness that we've let him go for that cheap if we have.
I think we'll all miss him once it's confirmed. It'll be a big hit, won't it, when that's up in the Celtic Twitter and he's holding a scarf of another club. But another exit today, Anthony. I mean, bit briefly here. Oliver Abelgard, his loan has been cancelled. I just want to read out what he said. Him and Jens, especially, have been emotional about leaving. It all comes to an end even before it started. Despite my short period of time at Celtic, I've witnessed the truly special atmosphere at Paradise, the incredible support from our fans, and the beautiful values that this club is based on. I want to express my gratitude to Celtic for, amongst other things, getting me back on track physically and fully fit to start my next adventure. Thanks for all the beautiful memories you've given me. That will stay with me forever. Now, him and Jens, both loans gone, both praising the club. It shows you the atmosphere around Celtic at the moment, doesn't it?
It shows that even players that aren't playing are still, they still feel that they're part of something. Some people might not be convinced, but I know Franco called Yenzi's message on Instagram birthday card fish on Friday night. But I just, for me, I think fair enough. I mean, Abelgard, I think he only featured briefly in one of the away games in the Champions League, which is always going to be a tough, kind of baptism of fire. And he didn't necessarily play badly, but he didn't do anything outstanding either. He came with a great reputation, and like Alistair Johnston, spoke well in his welcome interview. But he's just been a sort of victim of the fact that the guys that are there permanently at the moment, he wasn't able to shift out the team. You are not moving, you're not changing the likes of Hatate and Callum McGregor and Matt O'Reilly, even at the earlier stage in the season, for a guy who's only in on loan. Perhaps if he maybe would have featured in other games, but it's just been and you've got to take the sort of rise of Aaron Moy into that equation as well. You play the foreign players, and it's just been a shame for him that he's not been able to break his way into the team. But such is life at this ruthless machine that is Celtic just now, and it's the same for Jens as well. I know you guys were talking about it last week when it was sort of announced that he was away. I liked Jens. I thought he looked comfortable on the ball. He brought a wee bit of him. I thought him and Carter Vickers were sort of forging a good partnership. Although, ironically, as much as we actually felt that they were a good partnership and together, it was when those two were playing together mostly where our defence actually were conceding a lot of late goals as well. So it might just be the fact that potentially, it's maybe not as good as we thought it was going to be. As much as I agree with Ross that Starfelt, makes me age every 5 minutes. Sometimes when he's got the ball, sometimes he's just not great in the air. On the ball, a little bit more sketchy. But no, I mean, fair play to them. I think there had to be outgoings in this window. I mean, you can't have the size of squad that we do. But the thing is, we've got more than enough cover now at the back, and Abelgard, I don't really think featured anyway. So you wish them well, but it's don't think it will derail our title bid, shall we say?
It's mental how we all kind of still come at Starfelt, but Postecoglou literally just described him as the cornerstone of the team since he's been in charge and arrived at the club. But
you can't argue with his numbers, Stephen.
Yeah,
to be fair,
him and Vickers. I think it's 39 games now unbeaten together, which is incredible. Just a wee bit more transfer news in the SPFL. I'm in element. I love all this. Jack Aitchison has signed for Motherwell. He done an interview with our podcast.
Well done,
if anyone's interested, go and find it in the archives. We done a wee interview with him. It was brilliant. He's a good guy, and we wish him well from the Endless Celts podcast signing for Motherwell. But kind of coming to you, when I trip over my words like I always do, Ross. Anthony said we've got enough cover at the back, right? There's still rumours floating about that Welsh might be heading out on loan. We know the loan market's still open for an extra week, I believe. I think it is. So you look at that. If Welsh goes on loan, we're left with Starfelt, Kobayashi, Carter Vickers, and Bosun Lawwell. Is that enough, or would you like to see the end stick around?
Well, first of all, I think the rumour of Welsh going out on loan, I think you could probably just file that under shite, because that's not.
We're here to talk about hypothetical situations.
I know, but I'm going to allude to it that I don't think, or I'm going to elaborate. Sorry, I don't think Celtic will let him go for the reasons that you've sort of pointed out. That Bosun Lawwell, however you say it. I think, given time, he maybe could make the break into the squad. Again, time will tell on that. But I think going into the second half of the season, okay, we've got Starfelt there, CCV and Kobayashi. But I still think that Welsh as fourth choice, we had to use him at the early part of the season, and he comes in and he does a job. I would be amazed if Celtic let him go out on loan in this window. I just think there's no reason to. It gives you a possible problem that you don't need to give yourself. There's no need to put him out on loan. If anything, put Law out on loan. Give him some game time, even if it's in Scotland, to get sort of used to that week in, week out, playing in front of fans, competitive, just getting that experience of being in and around a first team, more like most weeks. I think Welsh has that, and that would be baffling if Celtic let him go out on loan in this window.
Yeah, I mean, you can't cut it as much as you said there, Ross. If we let Welsh go, that's the experience. Like you say, it's a headache. If there's injuries to Starfelt or Vickers, then you're kind of gazumped there, William. If there was one position for you, where would you have further strengthened if you were Postecoglou?
We've talked about this before at length, and even when we had Jens and all the rest of them in, I felt like centre half. If you're talking about improving the first 11, I just feel like there's no many positions on the park. You can always get better, but we're never going to sign Messi. So, with regards to what we can stretch to and who we can get in, I don't think there's many positions in the park we can improve on. But I think centre half alongside CCV, and I'm not bashing Starfelt. Or left back, to be fair. I'm a massive Greg Taylor fan. But I mean, you probably could get a left back in. But just centre half for me, I just feel like that. I just feel like there's better out there for us at centre half. I don't think we can go out and buy somebody that's better than Hatate at this moment in time, or Kalmak or Jota or even Hyeongyu. I just feel like that centre half, and I'm not unhappy about Starfelt being there. I think he's been brilliant, and this is all getting done. I'll look all right in a few weeks.
All in due course.
Ross is on the case for me. I think Starfelt's a good player, decent player. I'm not saying he's terrible. I'm happy that he's in there. I just feel like if there's one position in that first 11 for me that I think we can improve on, realistically, it would be there.
Yeah, I'm agreeing with yourself. And Boise came in there, Ross, with the comment out of like Cantwell. Now, I remember when he signed for Sevco that you said he would be a decent signing. Do you think we needed a type like that, or do you think we're well stacked in that position with O'Reilly, Moy, them type?
I think he'll be a decent signing for Rangers. I think he has went off the boil a bit. That's probably the last year. I don't think he's performed as well, but certainly when I seen him playing for Norwich in the Premier League, you could see I was lying. You could see that he was a decent player. But what I was going to say is, I'm glad he said he was lying, because I was like, wow. I don't see any way that Cantwell can get into a Celtic team at this moment in time. Like Willie says, you're not getting in front of Hatate, you're not getting in front of Riley, you're not getting in front of Callum McGregor. You're not getting in front of Aaron Moy. You're probably not getting in, if you're Cantwell, I don't even think you're getting in front of David Turnbull at this moment in time. I mean, he could come in to Rangers and be an absolute baller and just pick his career back up. But I don't, for Celtic, no.
Yeah.
Not even close to the level that we've got in there.
I totally agree. Their new signing today, Nicholas Raskin, looks a decent player, to be fair. But coming to you, Anthony, just another bit of news coming out of England. Leicester have signed Harry Suter for the fee of £15 million from Stoke. That is interest to Dundee United. They will receive a pretty payoff percentage because they were the club
How can Harry came from. Go for 15 million?
That sort of backs your point up.
Nature of the beast, isn't it? Nature of the beast. But Anthony, where would you have liked to have strengthened? Willie says centre back. What about you?
Well, to be fair, I mean, Wally makes the point, in terms of improving the first 11, a centre half would definitely have been on the cards. But for all we know, Kobayashi might prove to be that person. We've always seen him, he's just had a couple of appearances so far. Maybe as he grows into the role, it could well be him. We'll just need to wait and see. I think the one thing where we can praise Celtic in this window, in years gone by, every time a transfer window would come to open, it would be a case of, right, where do we sign? But especially a January window. And the amount of times we're absolutely crying out for a right back, we're absolutely desperate needing, somebody to play out in the left or something. There was always a key position where in the first half of the season we were so short, and it left us exposed in other areas. I think that's the ultimate compliment you can give Ange, and that's what we were saying about this sort of constant overturning the players. They might be that they're here for shorter periods of time, but even if Celtic hadn't signed anyone in that, I suppose perhaps obviously with Juranovic leaving, we did need to sign there, and obviously as it's now looking Giakoumakis as well, but in all the other areas of the pitch, we've got so much strength and depth. I know you've put up the graphic a few times, Stephen, of every single position on the park and all the players that we've got that can play in each of those positions. And the list is, to coin the phrase, endless. And it just seems to be at the moment that I reckon, I can't remember who it was that put it on earlier on. One of the guys put up the comments, just said along the lines of, Ange has probably got the guys, he's already probably started looking at deals for the summer and maybe beyond that. And it's just that constant planning for the future that just seems to be, there just seems to be a freshness about Celtic at the minute all the time. And we just seem determined to get this title, wrapped up as quick as we can and build for next season and what we hope will be a more successful European campaign. And just to quite, I know it's Bhoys is saying there, I obviously can't see the figures here or whatever, but if there's over 80 watching, that's absolutely brilliant for us for a Tuesday night, when we're fast approaching midnight. So a big thanks to everybody for tuning in. Of course to all the regulars, but of course to all the newcomers as well. We hope you're enjoying what you're hearing.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And in reference to them comments as well, Anthony, I think that was Egyptian King. He always comes in with some great knowledge of players and football. And
brilliant contributor. We'll need to get him on a Pure Takeover one night.
Yeah, Pure Takeover, by the way. We want to get more people involved in that. Alistair, Jack, if you want to get in contact with us to organise a date, please do, because it's all went quiet. We want to get you on as soon as possible so we can continue this Pure Takeover, because it was excellent with Jed and Kaiser and stuff. So we're looking to grow that, make it bigger, so everyone get involved. Yeah, in reference to that, William, sum up the transfer window. Stronger or weaker?
It all hangs on Gigi for me. If he goes, I think we're weaker.
Okay.
I just don't think you can buy his prowess and his goal scoring record and putting the ball in the back of the net's the hardest thing to do in football. And I just think he was the best finisher at the club. So I would say we were weaker. I think Jens going was a big thing as well. I thought he looked a top talent to me, and it's a shame. And I know it's difficult to rotate centre halves, so to give him game time would have been difficult. But I just think that he was a top player, and if he stayed, and maybe I've changed my mind, but I just think if Gigi goes, it's massive. And like the likes of Awata, I hope. I'd like to see a bit more of him, but it just seems like when we get, like I said, Calmac Scott, he's our leader, our captain, he's probably our best player, especially in that number 6 role. Like I said, nobody turns defence into attack or drives the team forward like he does. And we've had countless guys that have came in that are number 6s that can't get a sniff. There's Abelgard away. McCarthy can't even get on a bench. I don't even know if he's injured. I don't know. Ideguchi, but never, like, it's as if he's fell off the face of the earth. Never seen him. Just seems like all these number 6s that come, that they're never ever going to get their chance. So, but I mean, he was the best player in the J League last year. So, hopefully we get to see a wee bit more of him. Who else has came in? The big centre half looks decent as well. So I just think it's difficult as well with Johnston to compare the two. I don't think you can say one's better than the other. I think he's a more than capable replacement. I'm really happy with what I've seen, but it's difficult to say if he's better or not. So just for me, if Gigi goes, I just think we're weaker.
That's fair enough. I do tend to agree with you. I mean, we talked about it the other week as well. The players that have come in, technically, only Johnson's really going to start. Kobayashi and
Yeah.
O at the moment are going to be more impact players, Ross. So
Mhm.
I do get what William's saying in that sense. But if you looked at O's cameo, it was promising. Kobayashi played with Starfelt, 2 clean sheets in a run of 5, which is the best under Postecoglou. But again, GG will be a big miss, and Monty's adamant that we're weaker. What do you think?
Um, I think you could probably say not having seen because I think it as I've said before, what do you call him? Alistair Johnston, I think, is a more than able replacement for Juranovic. More than able. I think through time will be a better team defensively, certainly. I think we'll have a better team with Alistair Johnston in it. But I think it hinges on the GG one. He's going to go. I've no doubt in my mind that that's going to happen. But I think you could say, not having seen say O, you could make a valid case for saying we're weaker. But I'm not prepared to say we're weaker because I think that's unfair on O. I think you need to give that time, that guy.
I agree with that.
I think you need to give him time. You need to give him time to show us what he can do. And then, I don't know, maybe 4 weeks down the line, you could make a better judgment call on whether we're weaker or not. I'm not prepared to say we're weaker than now, but I suppose on paper you probably could say, not having seen them, that we are. But I think at the moment we're not any stronger. But I'd be loath to say weaker at the minute.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, William, were you going to say something in regards to what David said, or
what was it again?
GG was only getting the chance to do a job.
Like I do a job.
Yeah.
Just in this team, I just think, I know we've talked about how Kyogo's the main man and he's his favourite, but in this team, we've seen it. We said it last night. If you told me at the start of the season Moyes going to oust O'Reilly out of the team and be in that first 11, I'd have laughed at you. What's to say that GG couldn't be the main man in 2 months' time? What if Kyogo breaks his leg tomorrow? It's just, I don't think, we talk about it as a squad game and all the rest of it. Yes, GG recently wasn't getting as much game time. I believe that's because something's went on in the background, because before then he was still getting a lot, he was still rotating him. He was starting the game 1 week and Kyogo was in on the Sunday game and then he was in on the Wednesday or whatever. I believe it's whatever's happened. That's the reason. He's obviously said I'm away, and fair enough. But I don't think that there's many players in the squad. I think the gaffer actually said at his cell the day in his press conference about how there's 4 or 5 that might look at their options about going because they've not been getting game time. But everybody else, David Turnbull's starting to get game time again now. 3-4 weeks ago, you would have said he's away in January. All the rumours were saying West Ham are coming in and he's away.
Forgot about him.
So did I. We all did. And he's another one that was away to West Ham. Well, let's get rid of him because he's knew he's coming in. He's scoring goals. He's only when he starts, he's scoring goals. He's coming on for 20 minutes. He's getting his bag and his cell a goal. And I just think in this team and with Ange, other than Kalmack and possibly Kyogo, I think if you work hard enough, you can get your you'll get your chance, and people will come and go. Moyes the man now, but in 3-4 weeks' time, it could be O'Reilly's back in, doing the business. So I'm no for this doing a job type thing. I think if you're quality and you work hard enough and you do your job better, then Angel will no qualms about putting you in for several weeks and vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like as you said there as well, Ross, in regards to what GG can bring you, it's going to be a miss, definitely in the squad. I mean, and if you look at the comments here I want to bring them in because there's loads of people, 85 live at the minute, lads. That's fantastic. Coming up to midnight here.
Superb.
Thanks, everybody.
Patrick McLaughlin. Did GG think he was the finished article and Ange disagreed? I'd imagine Ange only wants teachable players in the squad. Plunge McNugget Anthony. Ange doesn't think we're weaker. He was excited about the signing of O. David Lowe coming back in on his point. Hyeongyu was out for months and walked straight back into the team despite GG banging in the goals. He was a short-term plan for a long-term goal. Never going to be the main man, unfortunately. Do you fit me on that line of thinking, Anthony?
Perhaps not in the sense of, like the boys, I love Giakoumakis. I just that kind of, I think as Russell used to calls him on his show, he's chaos Giakoumakis. He's just that way, that he just sort of, defenders don't like him being in the box. You could argue, although he didn't have a huge impact in the goal at Ibrox, just him being in and around the area, Rangers defenders didn't quite know what to do, and it allowed that space for Kyogo to get in and get the goal. They got us a point on a below par day. But I think overall, to answer the question, I think Ross is right in terms of the fact that I don't think, as much as I'm a big Juranovic fan as well, I think I've got to be honest and say that we can all sort of say that he's not hit the heights that he did last season. So the time had come for him to leave, and I think what we've seen so far, we've had a bit more opportunity to see Johnston, and I've been very impressed with him so far. So I think that's just a natural evolution. Kobayashi will need to wait and see, but again, he was a player. I think he was perhaps the first registered player acquisition in this window, so he's somebody that Ange was very keen to get in. And of course, I think we will miss Giakoumakis, but he's gave us some great memories. But it's just the way in which Ange is just seems so delighted about getting this guy in bodes well for me. I obviously can't say at this moment that we're stronger, but I think in time, perhaps come the end of the season, we'll be able to look back at tonight and say we did actually emerge from the window stronger. And Russell's right in the skiz, nothing has won yet. I don't believe that the title race is over yet, although we've got a very, very good advantage. And the good thing about Celtic at the moment is, whether it be the manager or the captain or all the other players on the park, they just seem laser focused on just getting the next game out of the way and the next game out of the way, and getting those matches played, won, and the points banked. And we keep that up, and if all the players contribute, we can look forward to a heavy summer of partying in the Champions League next season. Which is why I'll say I think eventually we'll be able to say that we've left this window stronger. But I can understand why at the moment we're maybe we can't say that for definite yet, because we've not seen exactly what these guys can do.
Yeah, 100%.
It's because of do you know the worry as well, right, for everybody is, and I'm the same. It's because of the goals and how, like what I said, he's probably the best finisher at the club. But I look at it as well, right? Dembele left. Oh, how we got to, that's a big loss, massive loss. Edouard comes in, does the job. Edouard's leaving, right? What we got to do? But before he leaves, Kyogo comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Then Giakoumakis comes in. Giakoumakis doesn't play every week, but he's outstanding as well. Giakoumakis goes. We've got O in the door. You hope, again, you've not got a crystal ball, but you hope he can make the step in like the other players have done previously, and it keeps going like that. It doesn't always work like that. Do you know what I mean? Henrik Larsson left, but he's the most difficult player out of all to replace. Mm-hmm. And we went through a spell where we just couldn't get near it. But I think we're probably being slightly better run now. I just think that in time, Giakoumakis will be another one that's left, but Celtic will roll on. And hopefully O is the man that allows us to do that. And again, he might, certainly for the start of it anyway, he'll play the Giakoumakis role. And I fully hope and believe that he can come in and play that role. And he'll be a bit more patient in terms of wanting starts, because he's younger. Giakoumakis is older, and he's putting the ball in the net. But I think this guy at 21 will understand. Kyogo is older than me, he's got more experience, and I think through time we'll maybe I've got crystal balls. Come to Wally's Barn. I'll be the judge of that, kid. But aye, you know what I'm saying. Hopefully, in time, O can be as good a replacement for Giakoumakis as Edward was for Dembele, as Hyeongyu was for Edward, and so on.
Yeah, I have to say, these lads, I'm really enjoying Willie's facial expressions every time I bring up a comment about Gigi. He just wants to bite. He just wants to. I love it. It's brilliant. And I do want to say to everyone again watching along, 82 we're sitting at. It's fantastic. Obviously, along with us on our first ever transfer deadline day special. And again, a wee bit more transfer news. Motherwell have made their second signing of the night. James Furlong joins on loan from Brighton until the end of the season. He's a fullback, so Stevie Hamill's been quite busy there today with Jack Aitchison as well joining. But to come to you, Anthony, with ever going to touch upon other transfers and a club that you like, I don't know, you like or support, whatever. Manchester United, they have signed.
You can only support one team, Stephen.
You know what I mean.
Like
you know what I mean.
Manchester United. You can't support more than one team.
Salbatzer or Beetzer has joined you on loan from Bayern Munich. Is that a good signing for them? Obviously, Ericsson, he's going to be out for a long period of time, so replacement for him.
Well, I have to say, mate, it was keeping me up all night last. Listen, never heard of the player, don't know the first thing about him. I hope, obviously, United are certainly looking a bit more in the mood this season. They obviously had a very poor start, but Ten Hag just seems to have bit by bit kind of put his own sort of stamp on the team, and obviously they had a very short-lived title fight that lasted a week, a couple of weeks ago. But I think they're in good shape, and I think finishing in the top four this year would be, very good progress, considering where they were last season. I mean, this time last year they were in the absolute doldrums, and as I say, I like to look for the result, and I like to see if they win, but it does not have the weekend ruining effect if Celtic ever drop points, which isn't very often these days, to be fair. But I hope he does well, but I don't really bother if he doesn't.
You're meant to be the correspondent here. Come on. Nah, I'm only joking.
Listen,
Kenny.
I'll always like to see them do well. I don't know if it was because of the Ferguson thing growing up, the whole sort of Scottish thing, and I liked the kind of homegrown players winning and stuff. And Roy Keane is probably my favourite, although he had a cameo at Celtic. Roy Keane's probably my non-Celtic footballing hero, just the type of player he was. But they're
footballing hero.
An absolute doldrums for the last 10 years.
I know what you're saying there, Anthony. But in no way did I mean to throw you under the bus. You like them. That's it. That's all it's ever going to be. Celtic the number one, as Willie always said. But Kenny comes in here from a 65-year-old Celtic dad. This has been absolutely brilliant to watch and listen to. Great discussion and great points being raised. Appreciate that, Kenny.
Cheers, Kenny.
100% with you.
Cheers, man.
Thanks for watching along. But coming to you, Ross, I mean, another bit of business down south. Again, me saying down south after questioning it. Jorginho, the Arsenal for £12 million. I mean, Arsenal, to be fair, looks like they're favourites for the league from what I can see at the moment. Is that a good bit of business with his experience into their team, do you reckon?
Well, Arsenal are in a good place now. They went in for, was it Caicedo for Brighton? £70 million or something.
Have you ever watched that show?
No.
Watch it. Go ahead.
Just laughed along like I did. I know what it was about. The idea.
Arsenal, they went in for Caicedo, and I think it was like 70 million, and they weren't having any. Brighton weren't want to sell. I think personally, it's worked out better for Arsenal because Arsenal have no got a plethora of players in their squad that have won league titles. Obviously, you've got Zinchenko, Jesus, who have done it with Man City. I can't think of any others. I just think, okay, he's 31. He's not coming in there to play in front of Partey. He's coming in there to bolster the squad. If Partey gets injured, he'll come in and do a job. He'll keep the ball in the middle of the park all day. Just pass. I'm not comparing him, but he recycles the ball the very same way Aaron Moy does. It's not always pretty. People think, oh, it's side, side, side. He's keeping the ball. He's keeping the attack rolling. I think Arsenal are going for a league title. If you can get Jorginho for £12 million, even if it's, I don't know, 18 months they have him for, I think going for a league title, he's been over the course, he's won the league title. As I say, if Partey gets injured, he can come in and do that job, maybe not to the same level as Partey, because he's probably a long way. The boy at Man U, Casemiro, the two of them are probably the best two sort of holding midfielders in the league, and they're bringing that back because that's a dying breed, that, and I love that type of player. But again, coming in doing that job, but also games that are tight, Arsenal are maybe 1-0 up, you're trying to see it over the line. Bring Jorginho on, keep the ball, like I say, all day for you, recycle it, and just see the game out. I think it's not an unbelievable signing but El Neni is out injured as well. He would have been the guy to come in and maybe come in for Partey. For me, Jorginho is an upgrade on El Neni, absolutely. I think it's a really, really good signing for Arsenal, and it's not, as I say, an amazing one, but it's a shrewd one, and it's a sensible signing, and I think it'll really help Arsenal get over the line. But I mean, I say that, but I keep waiting for them to just unravel.
How many points are they ahead?
I think it's
6
8
or something,
points. 8 points, I think.
I think they've got a game in hand as well.
I think they're 5 points in front and they've got a game in hand. I think that's what it is. But I mean, they're going to, I think they go to Everton on Sunday, and that's one of the ones where Sean Dyche just came in, took over. They'll end up fucking going there. Well, Arsenal are old anyway, would have went there, Sean Dyche, the new manager, and probably lose the game 1-0. I hope it doesn't happen. I don't see it happening, and I have to say that Bukayo Saka is probably one of, if not my favourite player to watch in world football right now. I think he's absolutely phenomenal. I think he's absolutely phenomenal, world class. That's how good he is. And I think with a player like him in the team, Arsenal have got every single chance of winning that Premier League, and I really hope they do.
I mean, it'd be a big difference for them. They're definitely on the upward kind of form, will they? And to be fair to Anthony and Ross there, I mean, Anthony kind of ducked the United question and doesn't know anything, but here, I know what he means. But coming to yourself, we talked about the fees and all at the start. I mean, Harry Souttar just confirmed to Leicester for 15 million quid, Enzo Fernandez 105 million, Mudryk to Chelsea for over 60 million pounds. Is there anything else you want to get off your chest here about these absolutely insane transfer deals?
No, I mean, that's football now, isn't it? It's the English league and the Sky money and all the rest of it. It's been building, and it's out of control now. Sorry, I've just seen John Joe Shelby sitting on a fucking throne, looking like he's Leo Messi. What the fuck's going on, man?
He went the Forest, didn't he?
He's sitting on like a throne with fucking Forest stuff draped over him.
Hell, eh?
Who the fuck are you, Voldemort? Half my screen.
John Joe Shelby couldn't win John Joe Shelby of the month.
I mean, the English Premier League. English Premier League's ruining football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've seen that the European Super League won a court case today, or was it yesterday, about the clubs can't be punished now if they join them or look to break away or something like that. The youth and all can't be involved. So this thing
is now as well. I was watching. I don't know if you've seen it. Sky Sports have got their documentary now, and it's about it's about deadline day, and it's like behind the scenes, and they followed certain players, and it's quite interesting. And I mean, again, it kind of shows the player power. There's a young boy that was playing in the Dutch league, I think, scoring goals. He's in the Belgian under-21 squad, and his agent set him up a move, and it's all set, but the club don't want to sell him. So they're like, no, he's a top player, we don't want to sell him. So the agent phones a player and says, right, you need to go in tomorrow and tell them you want to leave. And then all of a sudden it's on. He's gone. Player power is far too much now. And I'm watching it, and there's guys there that are playing in decent leagues, top 10 leagues, like as in Dutch, the German league, whatever, playing for top 4 sides, and they're willing to go to Everton and Wolves because the Premier League's the place to be. No, it's because you're going to get paid 4 times as much as what you're on the now. It just baffles me. I don't think football's difficult to say, but I don't think football's so much for players now. I know it's a short career, but it's not about what you've got in your trophy cabinet at the end of it. It's about the money you've made, I think, and I just think it's a sad state of affairs now.
Player powers definitely took over from everything in terms. I mean, I'm going to watch that deadline day show. I'm interested in seeing that. To be fair, but players now, they can make one phone call. Agent can make a phone call without the club even knowing, and then 2 minutes later, there's 10 clubs sending emails to that certain team looking for their player. Absolutely madness. But everyone, we've took us to the end of the transfer window, both UK, Scottish, and every other domestic league, apart from probably the MLS. I don't know, but it's been the transfer deadline.
By the way?
And they opened today, apparently. It's because of the way their league works.
And Angie's presser the day when he was asked about GG, he says, well, nothing's finalised. There's still talks going on. We'll probably know more in 24 hours. And I assumed that was because the window was shutting, but apparently MLS windows no shut, so it can still happen. I don't know.
I think we can still let players go even when our window's closed. Okay. If the other team's window is still open, if you like.
So how long is their window open for?
Fuck knows.
No,
a month.
A minute ago.
What
so
is
we
it,
can't
sorry?
sign anybody.
We can't sign nobody. But the players can leave us still, the other clubs. I mean, in terms of today for transfer activity to round up for everyone watching, no incomings at Celtic Football Club. Postecoglou confirmed that at like 3 o'clock. But with a couple of outgoings, Abelgard and people like that have left the club. Obviously, we're still looking for loan options for Ideguchi and possibly looking for McCarthy to move on. But we don't know when that will happen. Have you enjoyed tonight's transfer deadline day special, lads?
Superb, mate. Really enjoyed that. Lots of debate.
Better than sitting listening to fucking Cavi.
But to be fair, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone watching along, and we obviously play Livingston tomorrow, so we will catch up with that on Friday's podcast. And until then, stay well and keep it safe. Hail, hail.